Let's compare like for like. Other countries, population or the public might be well more aware than the Gambian public, especially if it comes to the aesthetics of politics. Then we should be very careful what we help this executive or any executive of such to portray to the people. We should be very careful of that. Now, when we look at it, having the press and the executive, some people would like to coin it as, oh, there's nothing wrong in that. It's good to be working together or whatever it is. That's not working together. We'll point to things that we need the press and the executive to work together. And in this sense, is the executive doing the right thing to give the environment for the press to work freely and independently. This is what we ask for them. But not end of the year to wine and dine, to capture the videos, to pictures that can be portrayed in a way and manner, and in fact the occasion might be a trap against some credible journalists that we have among ourselves. It might be a trap, and we'll get to that. We have to understand the evolution of journalism. Evolution of journalism. And in most cases, people would quote different time or different era that they will refer to the evolution of journalism. But at the time of Genghis Khan, the two most strategies that helped Genghis Khan to conquer and occupy and maintain the territory he did, most would just point to the Mongolian skills in horse riding and those powers. But actually, they are not the two most instruments that have transformed and occupying such territory far from Mongolia. If you understand how small Mongolia was. First was set beliefs. When Genghis interacted with the Sufi movements, the Islamic Sufi movements, because of the background of that, especially Mongolia and around Mongolia, in mysticism, the Buddhist mystics and so on. Now they held fairs where these Sufi mystics won competition and become very influential. He decided to use that part of Islam to influence, especially territories he have captured. Two, it was communication, information, communication. Because that's why many institutions where intelligence are thought they would teach you about the strategies that Genghis Khan have applied in order to be the leader he became. Information. Most people would just look at and say that, oh, he in fact technically introduced the postal services in those era to make sure from one point A to Z, there was communication. He makes sure that information go and flows. That was a way of controlling the territory by applying a form of journalism. But by sending messages through intermediaries, by sending messages through word of mouth, by sending later on develop on writing scripts that went round. That's why until today there are archives that you go and find this evidence of communication and information sharing. But again, he had dominance and he had control. If you look at that historic point, then it's easier to understand how it evolves in any other country, be it in America, until journalism or the press or media became monetized to the extent of a part of a multi it was more of the influence, but not only now of the influence, now it's of what can be gained out of it. This is why all billionaires are buying media houses. They are not buying the media houses for profit, but they are taking it over to have control over the lives of people, to have control of a government. Similarly, you can see that in the United Kingdom, for how journalism evolved from ideologies, be the left, be the right, and be the liberals, core liberals, and so on, to the point that now you cannot even tell the difference of the right, the left, all these things, because they are all owned by people that have money, and they are using the influence to make more money, not from the business itself, what it generates in money. No, the influence it gives them for them to capture a government and control that government. That's what the press does in these countries. Election time comes, I can tell you, if you look at which party the press backs, you can tell that these are the people that are going to win, because they will disinformation, any form of way of campaigning would rest on this. From this evolution, from television and everything else to now we have social media. This is the only time now the mainstream media would have a challenge, and now they are coming into this environment to control the social media space. If the Zionists that have controlled the media for a long time, the Rupert Murdochs and others, and then would now the Zionists would turn to their prime minister, coming to America to sit with influencers, trying to recruit influencers to do the fight, tells you how influential, in fact, the social media is, far more effective than the mainstream media. There's still areas of mainstream media that probably older people follow and so on, but for the Gen Zs and the younger people, the most effective is this media. Now, let's come to the Gambia. Journalism as we know it started from a core ideology, space where ethics and everything is stored and controlled. But the minute the influence of media or journalism is being realized, it becomes monetized and it becomes issue about control, censorship, and everything else. This is why dictators, what they do is they will have to silence the media first. And silencing the media does not only mean by going force to shut them down or kill them. No, it's to create more media, in fact, and capture all that media that had credibility before and dilute them to what they want to happen. Now, in the history of Gambia, as everywhere else, the evolving nature of journalism, the people that choose to become journalists were known to be very idealistic. They strongly, and in most cases, they are liberals. They are liberals. We used to have the Dixon College, the likes of Sanamane and others. And journalists were known to be poor because of they were not monetized or they were not into riches or wealth. But as time goes on, some of them started or coming up and aligning in the government and staying with the influence of government to become something else and move from their profession to other stuff. And we witnessed, even during the Jawara time, the prosecution of journalists. It was not as we are not going to compare it to any other time because it was individuals that's been prosecuted, and as difficult it is for them, but again justice was served in the case of Senamane and others because they won their case, and it started to be the real pressure that in fact imploded the PPP government. And in this case, we come to an era of the dictatorship, and we knew the casualties the biblical gaze, this, if I want to count now, I'll really be mistaken, because there's so many journalists that became victims, but they either become, become the well-known victim of the level of brutality, the burning down of the independence, the independence newspaper, the missing of other journalists, and still can be found, and the detentions and everything else. We all heard about that. The reason that much journalists were attacked is because of what they represent. But these journalists that were doing the bidding of the dictatorship were protected, and they became probably even, God knows, I don't call them wealthy, but they have a better life that they could not have. Doing the right thing for them. That's how they see it. And but what challenge the dictator had was social media. And as we keep on saying, without social media, it would have taken us longer to remove this dictator. The game started to change when Gambians had access to the technology, and social media coming into full force. We know the beginning, how sophisticated Gambians were to start Gambia L, when many African communities did not have a network online to do what Gambia L was to the dictator. But that continued to the emergence of online radios and all the different online radios and all the mediums, and to the point of the broader social media of WhatsApps and Facebook Lives and everything else. It's just like this was the change. The dictator tried, but because most of us were of rich, he could not have neutralized us, and the few that he could have, he tried and probably brought them out. But we were here to stay. Now, if Barrow, with a new spin doctor, Dr. Sisi, come up with something like this, it's nothing innovative, but it might be seen as smart because some people are already falling for it. This is why we are going to look at it as it is. The perception of the media houses appearing at State House. We have to be very careful, because we are dealing with a government that would always go out there to neutralize the opponents by bringing them in, enticing them to join the bandwagon. All those people that left either organizations or political parties to join Barrow, it's not that they join in Barrow to make anything better. Dr. Sisi is one example of that, who some people thought have credibility, but have just gone and joined, and in fact selling his what's left of his soul than anybody had ever done, even more than Mumudu Sabali. Now, that perception that whenever you get closer to the president, this is what happened, you need to be very careful. The perception is, oh, you are going there to curry favor or look for something out there. I can tell you that probably 70% is true of people that attended, because they are all, most of them are on the pay of the how to call it, pay of the executive. Most of them, we know that. It's published. They choose and pay them, and others, in fact, we might not even know, because they are paying them under the table. These are the worst. Most of the media house owners, the Mohammed Jah and others, we all know they are all part of the cabal. That's why we say 70 to 80% of them, those are not the ones we're talking about. Probably talking about the 20%. And even that 20% probably is only 3% credibly. We have hope that they will be very, very, very difficult for them to sell their souls. And we'll come to them. Then this discussion is about, one, making sure the public are aware more of what that is all about, and again to caution those that might be enticed or that might have seen it differently, believing in themselves that I am uncorruptible and whatever. But you might not be corruptible, but by attending you are given a perception that's all they want from your attendance, and which they are going to sell to the public, and probably one day they might use it in a way and manner that the public would not understand in difference. They will just believe because you were there. They have pictures with you, you are dining with them, because this is what they do. If we ask ourselves in the attendance, if you ask who were the attendants, just as we said, some of them we know them. Most of them we know they belong to media houses that are within the system. They've been paid before. I mean, in open transaction, where some of them have 5 million, 10 million, and others. Those people will not object to be there. There are others who wants to be there. Who wants to earn the same money, because journalism to them is not about ideology. Journalism to them is about making something out of life. It's a trade for them. It's about content creation. It's about endorsements. It's about this. How much would I get from this? It's not about any conviction of this. No, they don't care. Anything they do is what they can get from it. It's not that they believe in anything different. It's not that they are against the government for any for good reasons or anything. No, probably some of them are only against the government because the government is not considering them to be sharing what they're sharing to others. Once they are given that, they will be part of it. And others, remember, as I said, not every media house or person will be completely neutralized. Some of them will be in and pretend to be independent. They want them to pretend to be independent. And I can give you an example of this. When I reported for months the case about the Navy getting involved in drug trafficking, no newspaper, not Forex, no newspaper touched it. And they knew it was a fact that over a dozen soldiers were arrested and locked up in barracks. That was enough news. They should not even take my word for it. It was about drug trafficking. They should just go, okay, why over a dozen soldiers were arrested? We are interested because some people are, alleging that it's drug trafficking. Some were for drug trafficking, the others were for cartel on the oil, smuggling oil. These are both very serious crimes for an institution sensitive as the Navy. But none at all was covered until they killed the case of release them or discharge them. And in fact then, if they have found the information now, almost 8 officers and junior NCOs were discharged from the army, that was newsworthy to find out what it is about. But the Standard came out to say, it was not about drugs. What about them? They didn't tell us. They just come, it's not about drugs. In fact, to cancel us, Open Gambia. But they didn't tell us what it was about. Then the Republic came out with this damning publication. For days, none of the mainstream media had it on their headlines, not even Forex. But after a few weeks, they all have a similar, exactly the same article reproduced on all of the front pages, technically praising Amadou Sane, who was part of the report from the Republic, and the Gambia, used to be Gambia Groundnut Corporation or GTCC, placing them. And you know that was a paid ad. They didn't declare that it's a paid ad. They just gave it out as, or the intervention of this corporation into the rice purchase or business was a good thing, and so on. They so-called interviewed three different people, nobody knows. But all of them carry the same. Just tells you how many papers have been sold. Now, we had President Bell talking about the GPU giving a plot of land for a headquarters. But that's not the only thing. Others are alleged. I'm not going to call names here right now. Others are alleged to have received land from government who are journalists. You see, with all these allegations and facts going on, now you are invited to wine and dine. With that administration, you got to be very careful. You got to be very careful. If I should advise, I tell no. I'll distance myself as much as possible. Now, who wins from this? Who wins from this? What do the journalists earn from attending this, apart from enjoying the taxpayers' money? What do they benefit? Okay, now, when it was organized, at least in America, they allowed comedians to come in or presenters to come in and mock the president. To kind of mock the president, and the president will come and make and always president, first lady, or anybody around there. That's what their sense of fun is. Then people know that this is nothing serious, it's about this fun. But once they invite them to this, for a president that does not give you any interviews, he doesn't give you interviews. He gives interviews to people that he controls. He refused to address you when it matters. When you need information, when it matters, he refuses to address you. The president who sent for people to pick you up for writing an article that have alleged that he have intentions to leave power after 2 terms. A president, the administration that look out for journalists being arrested for looking into a case that police officers were murdered, and still be charged and lingering. That journalist apparently still on a charge. He's still on bail. And what did GPU doing about that? For the occasion that when the Republic wrote the reports of the Jani Asset Commission, the commission, the Human Rights Commission, and the former Justice Minister, trying to collide against that journalist. We all seen, and part of the media, media fraternity, in fact, one of the institutions fraternity played a role in that. Then this person inviting you to go and say, what do you gain from this? When there are still laws being put by the dictator to muscle the press, and still those laws are in the books because of promise of land be given to you, promise of financial support to whatever. That's why you go in, because if you were given the opportunity, in fact, on that day to come and speak to the public with the presence of the fine, but they will not do that. You were silent. You are given food to eat and silent. This is what it represents. Where this guy, the president is refusing to honor the publication of audit reports, the investigations of crimes. Investigation of crimes, you go and sit with that president? Where this president have been advocating for violence, inciting violence in political rallies, paying for people to come out on political rallies and insult the opposition. You know that fact. Because all those people, some traveling from America, Canada, coming to the political rallies, or like that little baboon that put my picture today to this thing, they are all fed from taxpayers' money. You know that. But you are happy that nothing you have achieved from this government, from the laws and everything else that needed to be put in place, you are happy to go every year and dress in your best attire and have a photo opportunity with him, and for them to put out messages they want to put out there. Is that what you have achieved? What you achieved there? Let me give you an example that it is to the advantage of the executive, the president. Did you notice that the most prominent picture is with President Barrow and Mustafa Dam? The most prominent, because that's their price. Having Mustafa there is their price. Mustafa, I don't call him a friend, but he's a brother who I admire most, who is doing the best. I am not saying that Mustafa is going to compromise himself after that meeting, but there are implications. Implications I fear for him. Because the perception already, this is why they have Mustafa Dabo there. And the picture prominent, and they make so it went viral. And in fact, they know their mark. You know why? I was reading social media and I can see how people are struggling not to attack Mustafa. Yes, it's right not to attack him because he earned his respect. I'm happy about that. I hope Mustafa realized that. Many people are writing, but along the line, they kind of are cagey. They would have gone for if Mustafa have deviated a little bit before. Luckily, he had that record, and it's him to keep that record. People are cagey. Or people say, oh, I want to know what the conversation is about. Kind of putting a little bit of joviality or whatever. This is what I'm reading from it. I'm not saying that's what people are saying, but what I'm reading from it, and I'm very good at reading into stuff. But I can tell you one thing. Even if that's not what people are reading into it, if they are acknowledging, thinking that it's a good thing, and everything else, there's a perception being built here. And I can tell you one thing. I have defended Mustafa many times in his absence, which I did not need to tell him. There was once Mustafa did not publish for about 3 months. I know the reason why he didn't publish, because I know how much he had to work behind the scenes, how difficult it is to bring something out. And some people are telling me, oh, now you are the one left, even Mustafa have been bought. If Mustafa Swan did have been bought, I said, no, man, he's just busy. It doesn't work like that. I do something completely different from Mustafa. Mustafa need to take time and work on stuff and everything else for things to come out. But wait, something will come out. And when time right, he came out with it. Mustafa came out with it. And we can say it was the most explosive was the Dana Commission. Probably Mustafa worked on that almost 3 years. Now, again, if you sit with the president like that, and you have something cooking behind the scenes, after a month, nothing's seen, and something might happen by accident somewhere, and they'll turn it around to say, you see, this is why he was at the presidency, or this is that. If you are going into a situation you have no control, be very careful. I would have only gone there if I would speak, or someone I know will speak on my behalf or on our behalf, that I'll be satisfied with, fine. But I'll not just invite you to eat, and the chit chat goes on, and now it's like a secrecy. But it's not secrecy. That's what they wanted, that picture. The president like that. And people say, oh, you see, President Barrow is tolerant. Where's the evidence? Where is the evidence? That's not evidence of President Barrow tolerance. That's not it. You see, they're trying to sell you that as President Barrow is tolerant. President Barrow, who cannot even accept that going on a tour and the opposition goes on a tour, that's a problem. Now I'm going to go on 5 tours. Is that person tolerant? You use the taxpayers' money to go on a tour. The opposition takes money, their own money, go on a tour, and now you show your intolerance by saying that now, hence they go on a tour, I'll go on 5 tours. That's the simplest. In 2017, when Halifa was in London, I attended. Halifa talked about system change that night from Statehouse. That message that came out on GRTS attacking Halifa was President Barrow. It was President Barrow. But at that time, people could not even accept it. No, it is Alcali Conte. No, it's this person. No, it's President Barrow. Guess what? After a few weeks, the same Dr. Sisi, at that time, not even an opposition, as a lecturer, political science, made an assessment of a situation. The president has to come on a mic and so been very angry. We all know what he said. Very angry. Is that person tolerant? How many times the president stood during the local government elections, talked about Taliban Sunnah, talk about the Taliban Sunnah supporters, to the point of saying that why are the NPP scared? What is the NPP scared of? They are the government. They have every protection. Why this is going on? And what happened that night? The president's nephew, the other one, not Ahmad Njaga, went with a group and attacked supporters of Taliban Sunnah. He did at the same period in Banjul. He went on personally attacking the Lord Mayor, to the point of being angry about calling Lord Mayor Bur Banjul, which is the right thing, the historic thing to be called. The mayor of Banjul is only called Bur Banjul. Is that person tolerant? I can go and go and go over. But because of his side with Mustafa Dabo, that criticized him now, or because, not criticize him, in fact, Mustafa Dabo did not criticize him. He exposes what his government have done. And they want to say, oh, he's tolerant. You see, that's what they're trying to sell, a PR. We know it's not true. He has shown in the popular time, but I can tell you, people that sits with him in the evening and hear things that he says. The same person talked about, having the control over police and everything, even more than Yahya Jammeh. What does that say? For a dictator, he said that you have more power than Yahya Jammeh. You have more instrument of force than Yahya Jammeh. What do you tell him? Is that not threat? Is that person tolerant for what have people said to you or done to you? For someone who sit and seen an illegal act by the police at the 3S judgment and touch, go and repeat that to say that, oh, you see what we have done to you, and we'll do more. Is that person tolerant? Let's cut the crap. And this is the opportunity we don't let these people have from us. That's crap. We know that. We look at another thing they benefit from. There's this thing coming from the news, from the media. Oh, President Barrow said, this is part of the dinner. Oh, he doesn't, I don't know when he said it. To be quite honest, I looked at the pictures, I don't know what he said. But whether he said it because of he was sitting with Mustafa Dabo or not, to say that, oh, he's not aware of corruption, he just read it on papers. And none of this press came out. None of them came out and distanced themselves to say that no president. Now he is there with all these press houses and he said it. Now what the people are listening to is as an people are not saying anything. This is why I say you have no control. Don't go there. Not saying anything is as you are accepting that he doesn't know. You are trying to clear him. You are allowing him to wash, how to call it, journalist wash week, they call it, or whatever. This is what you allow it. You see, we know that people sell themselves in many ways. Some people will stop criticizing. Some people will change the way they criticize. They soften the criticize. That's what they will be paid for. Just to soften the criticism. And many, many, many ways. We know that. But the good thing is, the more the mainstream sell their souls, the more credible the social media becomes. And it is social media that they are really tired of. Some of us could have made more millions than the press. Social media they're more tired of. And this is again the reason why even people within the systems, they don't trust our media. They'll tell you. Right now, information in my hands that happened a few days ago, they have the trust to give it us holding on it. It's damning. Because they don't even trust them. Because they don't know who is bought or not. Where it's going to end up. For the president to say that, and I have seen been reported, press, video, oh, the president said this, the president said this, and that passage, or those columns that said that, did not even push back to say that, but it's interesting that the president would say this, but no. There's no editorial. What they do is just a report what comes from the president. Let's put this to test. The president that came out to say that audit reports are only an opinion, because he knows that he's implicated. Every major crime in that country, the president is part of it, and the first lady. Any major. So the drug trafficking, because of people doing the drug trafficking, are major sponsors of the president. That's why none of these people will ever be sentenced to spend time in prison. They'll just get a slap on the wrist by paying a fraction of the wealth. They keep all their assets and everything. It's only in the Gambia it happens. It only happens in the Gambia because of the patrons of the drug trafficking are sponsoring the president, and he knows them personally and directly. From the money laundering end, the sole phrases that are selling 3 to 4 property to a drug dealer on cash, knowing that breaks the money laundering law, and others. From the real estate businesses to others. From the Farimang Singates, from the Ibrahim Jabis, from the Silaba Samate, from the Yusufa, God forget Yusufa's name. So many of them. They are all sponsoring the NPP. Let's come to the economic crime. From the Russian fuel scandal, this is why nothing is coming out of it, because of the president was benefiting. The entire system to work together in that major crime is because of it was endorsed by the president. Was endorsed by the president. From Modu KCC, we wrote an article today, and we're waiting for the financial analysis. For Modu KCC 2017, permanent secretary, Minister of Energy, on the Senelec, NOEC, tariff, manipulation, making millions of dollars kickbacks to the president and other players. From Modi KCC, coming from there to finance, to tidy up some of these things, and fell and got conflicted with Marbury. Then he was moved to the Works Ministry. At the Work Ministry, where he oversees the OIC, and got a mansion built for him by Araski, one of the companies, for taking him from there, bringing him as chief of staff, now to ultimately have powers that technically control all the lucrative ministries. from the ports, from almost everything that went this things while it was going through him. He was controlling parastatal and everything else. Super minister. Because directly he was benefiting Barrow. Go and look at all the audit reports and see how complicit this government is. From this airport security tax, which again, Mustafa Kedabo did a brilliant job on that. Millions and millions still going on. The likes of Fatim Bagi, placed there by the First Lady, now being country in charge or operational director or whatever it is, for orders. From the real estate that they are involved in developing with the First Lady, all these things. From GRA, technically coming through a guy called Musaba, who is always with the president, collecting suitcases from Yankubada. This is why they were not allowed the Auditor General to do the need on getting the background of what is happening at GRA. From everywhere else, President Barrow is involved. Now, how can you sit there and information like that coming out, and by you station there, and the people will just kind of believe it? Because remember, we are talking about not me. I will not fall for it, but many Gambians will. And you are taking part in that by presenting yourself there. You haven't benefited. Your attending there doesn't benefit the country, doesn't benefit your profession. If you care about your profession, it doesn't benefit. It shows you in a bad light. And remember, the fabrication that comes from State House. People that went and saw the president for different reasons. When the president was pissed off, he said, oh, they came and looked for a job. I didn't give it to them. That's why they're pissed off. And next minute, you guys will be accused of, oh, they wanted to deal with, we will not do it. They get pissed off. And it might discredit you. Or you will have to work harder to prove yourself. Why would you need to put yourself in that equation? Anyway, we move on to the second one, because just we have a lot of topic to cover. I think we have done enough for that one. We come to the cement crisis. Again, by going to the cement crisis exposes just the corruption of President Barrow. All remembered when this cement crisis came up. Actually, the way I was shocked into it, a young chap in Sweden, living in Sweden, came and contacted me that evening and said to me, oh, we need help. And they mentioned someone I know about, but we have no relationship. Someone in a strategy, to deal with this man, that person. He said, oh, this person asked me to contact you to help us advocate about the cement, embargo that's gonna come on, or the monopoly and so on and so forth. I did ask them to educate me about this thing. They educated me, and I did my findings. And the young man said something that really struck me. The young man said, if this goes ahead, I am going to be in deep problem, and many people were in deep problem, because he said himself and others have took loans to buy these big trucks. They are Gambians, and some of them are Fana-Fanas, and the way they speak the Gambian Wolof, people think they are Senegalese. They are not. The people I'm talking about. There's a network of Fana-Fana family members that came together, bought trucks, and invested in this cement, buying cement from Senegal business. They explained everything to me. I looked at everything else, and it's obvious. This is about creating a monopoly. It was a lie from the beginning, and they knew it's a lie that Gambia does not manufacture cement. But even the press can continue supporting that lie, fabrication. If you say someone manufactures, someone takes raw material and process the raw material to manufacture. So taking a finished product and bring it into the Gambia and bag it up, it's not manufacturing. To manufacture cement, you need the raw material, and Gambia have nowhere in the Gambia that you go and say, oh, this is a cement mine. They have them in almost most of the countries in Africa, West Africa for the matter, but not in Gambia. Then it's a lie, and have they been selling that lie? But some people say, oh, why you always concentrate on Jar? Because rest of the small other companies, it's not because of them that the monopoly came up. It's because of Jar Oil. The monopoly was done to benefit Jar Oil because he have the biggest share in the cement market, especially when you exclude the other people bringing it from Senegal. Now, during that time, in the investigation, something became very apparent. That Jar Oil was sitting at a special place for the president. That in 2019-2020, the First Lady, Fatima Barrow, was serving as board member of Jar Oil. And no insult to her intelligence, but we know that he have no capability to serve on that board. And only two things will make someone serve on the board. You own the company, or have shares in the company, major shares, or you have an expertise to serve in that board. These are the two things. Then, why was Fatoumata Barrow in that board? This is to substantiate an allegation we had then, that President Barrow is or had became a shareholder at Jar Oil, silent one. This was the reason. And part of the money apparently invested by President Barrow, part of it came from shares sold, and he had kickbacks from the shares. These are the shares of Bazi that the Ghana Commission took from Bazi for Gum Petroleum, and were sold. President Barrow insisted. This is why we can continue to narrate this, because there are a lot of circumstantial evidence. Insisted those shares to be sold to Star Oil. That's why Star Oil is sitting on the board of Gum Petroleum. When Gambian companies, Social Security, Gambia Ports Authority, they all wanted to buy those shares because they are already existing shareholders. And in most cases, before shares are sold out, they are sold to the existing shareholders. But in this case, even that benefits the Gambia, it was sold to a Mauritanian Senegalese company. This is why you have Star Oil sitting at that board. And part of that money apparently is invested in Jar Oil. And another circumstance evidence is, if you look from 2017 to 2020, the transformation of Jar Oil could not happen without a heavy injection of cash from somewhere else. Banks giving you that money, you cannot expand that money because of the interest in the banking. It doesn't work. That's why we are confident that if any competent government take over and go on for a forensic to investigate Jar Oil, you'll find a lot of benefits that Barrow had to protect him. Give you another example. Jar Oil at that time even was running a civil engineering company, which he had no experience in. One of the reasons, one of the new generators at Birkama had a problem because Jar Oil was given the contract to do the flooring. And the flooring was not done right, the vibration could not be absorbed, and it affected the machines. We remember that Jar Oil, when this guarantee of forget how many million came through Badia to Gambia government, they make sure that only Jar Oil qualified. You know, we can go on and go on and go on. This is why when we specify on Jar Oil, it's no hate or anything. It's based on facts. Now, they come up with this tariff to move from 30 to 100 and something, almost 500% increment, to stop other Gambians, especially young Gambians, in participating in this business. I'll tell you why that is very important. Now, they created monopoly. And when this monopoly said, we said it's not going to be all right. One, prices will go up. Two, scarcity will happen. Now we can say that we are vindicated, even though we are not happy being vindicated, but to say that we've been vindicated, because these are the facts of monopoly. When you create a monopoly, you create a cartel. Go and find out when monopoly was created or alcohol was banned in America, how the Italian mafia became rich by controlling the market. Controlling the market. They control the market, they make so they are very profitable, prices were going up and quality dipped because of there's no quality control. The only source you can have is from their, because they control the beverage from the breweries to the stores. No stores sell alcohol if not them. Nobody else produce or alcohol if not them. Now, if you create that jar oil will be having 80% of the market, you have 5% salam, 5% or others. Now, the other competitors, you shut them down. Now, jar oil have a monopoly of it. And you can see the proof of the monopoly. One, it will bring scarcity. It will bring scarcity. Two, prices will go up. Didn't that happen? We said it. Didn't that happen? Now, let me give you an example. You know, when many people even fault the Gambia government, they don't understand how poor Gambia was, in a sense of, apart from government employment, there were not many other Gambians that had money. Like let's say the middle class was technically non-existent. But after 1990, where it started to notice a diaspora, I believe it's 1992 budget that the Central Bank of the Gambia started to report on diaspora remittance, because there was an oversupply of Dutch marks. Oversupply of Dutch marks, the Dutch mark went down and the dollar was going up. And to explain this, they explained the oversupply of Dutch mark, because there's so much Dutch mark being and other currencies coming in, which are not technically very much used in transactions. They are sitting in the banks, but people are needing the dollar to import. People are needing the dollars to import, because these people bringing the Dutch marks now started to spend the dollars. You see what it was bringing in? Then cement was sold at certain locations, NTC and others, before NTC, and NTC stopped, and other private producing and some other dealers started to sell cement, the Madis and others. This is where Amadou Samba came in and seen the expansion of the demand and decided to have a rebagging factory to rebag cement taken from Spain and rebag at Carriffy. When that happened, 1992, 94, 93, 94, 93, and Jimpex and others, Jimpex and others, Jimpex used to be part of NTC, the guy who runs Jimpex, Hatib, was working for NTC. I just keep on forgetting this name. He to Ablain to work for NTC. They all came back from the NTC. Now, when he introduced the cement rebagging, he applied for a duty waiver, something like a development tax waiver. Jimpex went to court against that. Until 1994, Jammeh coming in, I did not think Gassem had the duty waiver, because it was a really contested position that they should not qualify for a duty waiver because they were not manufacturing. They are not manufacturing, they are rebadging. And in the press, there was a competition. Ahmad Sambo was writing in the press, Jimpex and others were writing in the press saying no, yes, no. This is the debate we had. But let me tell you when monopoly happened in the Gambia, and now why certain prices even went up and stayed up. In the late 80s, there's a monopoly in the Gambia for rice and basic commodities. Rice, sugar, tomato, and some of the other commodities. There was a gentleman in the business, this thing called Manjai and Sons, who was called Manjai and Sons. That Manjai and Sons did a very similar thing. He was a patron to the PPP. You know, the patron of the PPP, those are the ones that had most of the loans from Commercial and Development Bank was to the patron of the PPP. You see, we have seen this before. When we talk, we are not theorizing, we are talking from experience. Manjai and Sons used to have, at that time, the demand was not very high, the population was not very high, spending was not very high. You don't have the kind of ceremonies you have now, 5 days ceremony, eating and everything else, no. But still, for what was needed in the country, he could have easily created a monopoly, and that's what he did. He technically became like a sole importer. Then he will import rice, sugar, tomatoes, cement, and store them in warehouses around the corner, and decide not to import again. Scarcity will happen, prices start to cripple up. Shortages and everything. The Jawara government could not do anything because he was a patron. That's how he dominated the market, and to the point, people will remember, you go to the market, they say, if you don't have safer, they will not sell. If you don't have safer, they will not sell tomato, they will not sell rice, they will not sell cement and others. Do you know why? Because the export trade was going very fine in the Gambia. Most of what he was bringing in, he was banking it and re-exporting it for bigger things, and he was benefiting in tax levy. Tax levy. And this is how prices went up. And price never came down, and it continued to go up. Now this is the situation Barrow have created again. Now, the scarcity, look at it again. Because of cement is cheaper from Senegal. The transporting cement from Senegal to Gambia is easier. Why Jar Oil would say that he is manufacturing when it is not true? He is going up to Turkey, he's going up to Vietnam, he's going up to Egypt to transport cement to come to the Gambia. Would that not add to the cost? If all of them were importing from Senegal, would the prices not go down? Prices are going down. In 8 months, prices have gone down in Senegal. In 8 months. Prices have gone down in Ghana. Once, in less than a year. In Senegal, gone down twice. Prices would not have gone down in the Gambia. But look, they have made attention about this. And they're coming to the public lying about, no, the reason they're doing it because Senegal is not allowing this, is not allowing. It's a lie. Yes, Senegal is not allowing a lot of stuff, but that is to be dealt with another way. That's not the reason. That's not the reason. The reason is just to empower Jar Oil. Now, Jar Oil has to make big profit, he will have to use bigger vessels, and he has to make sure the price is at level in order to sell for profit. If he allows the orders to trade, he will not be able to keep the price up. The price will go down. It's simple law of economics. Demand and supply. Demand and supply. If there's high demand, you have to meet that demand in order to keep the price. Well, if you cannot meet that demand, prices goes up. Jar Oil knows this. Now, If Jar Oil cannot determine to make sure that we have enough cement, why give him a monopoly? He's going to get big ships that cannot, anchor at our port in order to supply. For how long? Again, this exposes the corruption of Barrow. Why mortgage the ports to the talks? I am not saying we never had, because I remember the port been threatened many times. And I can tell you, you see that those anchors and places they're talking about, it was built in the Jawara days, 1992. It was commissioned in 1992 by the Chinese. What the Turkish have not invested, nothing, nix. But even to dredge, they are taking time to dredge. But they are, we know they have not invested because they want money. They want to come to Gambian banks and take money and mortgage the port which is not theirs. What's the point of selling and mortgaging it to them if it's not for kickbacks? For kickbacks. Now this is the government you're going to dine with as journalists when they are not answering these questions. They will ignore you. Now, because of they cannot, they have to bring them in bigger vessels in order to maximize their profit. But if they were left with, there's no embargo, Jar Oil would have been forced to buy it where it's more available, in Senegal. He could go 1,000 trips a day if he wants. More vehicles and others will do the same thing. But the embargo was to stop other Gambians making something out of it. It's to make sure the profit in Jar Oil goes up so that Barrow would have more money from Jar Oil. Whether it's because of his got shares or whether because of how richer Jar Oil becomes, that Barrow will benefit, it says the same thing. To determine whether he has shares, we need to change this government to make sure we have a competent government that will go after and do a forensic audit to see how much tax Jar Oil failed to pay, or what or where this money came from Jar Oil within 2-3 years to become who he became. Yes, don't tell me that, he started. Yeah, we know he started. We know where he was, at what level he was at 2017. We knew how he was getting petrol at 2017. We knew where he was borrowing petrol at 2017. But so a sudden, he is into everything. And we saw the evidence again in the Janneh Commission reports that he bought anything he wants to buy. And other deals been given to him. Now, the situation arises, they said, because Jar Oil cannot bring their cement. That means that then Jar Oil had a monopoly. Is that not a monopoly? If one person could not bring in cement, we are in crisis. Can you not call that a monopoly? When that situation could have been prevented. And we said it. Let the others bring cement as well. Let them pay a fair share of the tax. Oh, do you know something else about that tax? Once Gambians are bringing that cement, paying the tax at Farafenni. At Farafenni. You know they are paying tax at Farafenni and they are paying tax at the bridge. That's money for the government. I cannot remember the figures. Beg me here, I can't remember it. Apparently, the amount of tax from the audit office, which again is suppressed, part of GRA, this is why they're suppressing. From the audit office, the National Audit Office went to Dakar, went to the factories that they are ordering and looked at the invoices from those factories, did a forensic things, came to the Gambia and looked at the revenue. When they put it together, it does not tally. Apparently, if they had paid the tax, the people have paid, if the collected tax was declared, apparently it was going over 500 million. But it's less than 100 million been declared. Less than 100 million been declared. Then it's not issue that we cannot have tax in there. We were having revenue there. But again, cement is a critical component of building. If you don't have cement, the value chain suffers. First, the people that comes to work, to do the cement work, they will not be paid. If those people are not paid daily, most of them daily, guess what? They are not buying food. They are not buying breakfast. They are not buying lunch. They are not paying for school fees. They are not paying for other stuff. It's an employment. It's a big industry in the Gambia. It's part of the sectors that we monitor to measure inflation and development. One, if a builder does not have cement, that builder might not buy wood, plywood, might not buy most of these things, because when you use the cement, you have to build the cement in order to buy the others. Then work will grind to halt. Then other electricians, other carpenters, other part of the building trade stops. Those workers too are not paid. They are not servicing. They are not servicing who? The young woman or the old woman that is selling it daily in order to sell to feed their family. Remember, some of them sell breakfast. Some of them sell lunch. It's different from the spending the contractor or the laborer or the worker, construction guy is spending at the house. They still go to work because they're staying at work. They need to eat and drink. And the ginger and everything they buy, the juice and everything, the mahal and everything, is other people earning to take to their families, to take care of their families. Now, if cement is not available, now those selling the woods and other things are not selling. Hence they are not selling, they are not earning. And they're not earning is going to affect them. Probably they can insulate it a little bit longer because they probably had a little bit more. But people that have to live on daily will have to suffer immediately. And for who? President Barrow and his profit-driven greed. This is why. The crash is created by President Barrow and Joel. The other companies are not the reason. The largest part of the market is Joel. Now, what does it tell us? Now, if Joel was already doing well, if it's not for greed, hence he's not investing, mining cement, costing him risk and everything to develop the product, he should not benefit from a monopoly. If there was cement mines in the Gambia, protecting the cement mines, fine, but we don't have them. But instead, this is what we call spreading the wealth. For those young guys that contacted me, that went and took loans to buy trucks, one of them said that right now part of my low payment is affecting me, but because I want to develop this business. The trucks are coming, they get this, and in a short period we'll cover it. We'll cover and pay off our loans here, and we own our trucks. And in that truck, about 11 family members were employed, running around and doing the other stuff. Now, how many other Gambians could have elevated themselves and build wealth? But you see, at times, wealth building, it normally does not come from one thing. Probably those Gambians, if they have started to make profit and saving up to 500,000, probably they will go to another industry. They will build another industry. Probably they will invest in someone else's business. Probably they invest in agriculture. Probably that. But this is what Barrow is avoiding. Other Gambians to have their own. Many Gambians would have been from the importation of cement, they'll get jobs, but others can build them up and become wealthy, rich. And not only one Jaol and his family and his cover. Because if Jaol was serious in business, he will not employ an ex-NIA brutal spy who have done a lot. That's why they invited him to be a witness in America. He would not go there. That Hyderabad guy. If he had gone to America, he was scared that he might be arrested for the crimes he have committed. That's the person you take as your CEO in, who have never owned a business, never run a business, apart from being employed by Jammeh to be brutal. integrating witnesses and witnessing lies and fabricating against witnesses. But you deprive other Gambians from making wealth. Now, Gambia, this is what you have to choose from. This is a government that is creating a cabal. They are cabal of drug dealers, cabal of economic, whatever it is, and they keep it among themselves, and that money keep them in office. They can use that money to pay media. They can use that money for disinformation. They can, or to spread tribalism and everything else divisive to keep the opposition out, and they'll continue to do what they do. But I can tell you, it's not sustainable. Something will give. Gambia is not sustainable to continue this way. Now imagine the latest. After so many months scarcity, now they have to resort going to Senegal. Now, this is not a lie. Did they say that they are not good? They are empowering one. They say they're empowering Gambian manufacturers. It's a lie that we have manufacturing, because if we had manufacturing, the main component would not be coming out from the Gambia, because the main component is cement, finished cement to be rebagged. One. Two, some of them say now because Senegal is doing this, we have to do that to them. It's a lie. Now, why are you resorting going to Senegal? Why? But look at what they created again. I've just read today from the media to say, in fact, they said, in fact, the Gambia cement importers deny receiving government clearance. They still, according to the press report, they still denying Gambians to go and import cement. They have put the tariff back to 30% so that Jar Oil and those people they protect, the minor ones they're protecting, can still go to Senegal and produce cement, knowing that it will take a long time for those people to supply or bring in enough supplies. The prices will stay up. And by default, the prices might never come down, because then Jar Oil will continue. Jar Oil is selling my factory. I'm selling this from my factory. Yeah, you can sell selling something from your factory, but if you are only putting 2 tons from the factory, you are forcing others to buy from others. You want to keep the price up. You want to keep the price up. Why the government did not just allow all those people who were registered importing cement to import cement? Within few days, enough cement will be supplied. You see, the issue about demand and supply is this. If every cement importer that was licensed to import cement, and the cement is holding to their warehouse, they will want to sell the cement. And they will want to sell it at a cost so that the cement will not stay with them, because the longer the cement stays, it will dry up, it will cake, it will dry up, and they will lose. They will not want to lose. They will want to sell at fair price, and that will force the prices to go down. Somebody else will go down, someone else goes down, then the price will be stabilized at a price that they will still make profit reasonably, and cement will be available. But if you say that, these only 4 companies now allowed to do it, the 4 companies cannot keep up with the demand. Because even though prices are up, Gambians or people in construction want to see their projects move to the next level. For satisfaction, or for the project delivery have to be at a certain time, for business or whatever it is. They will still want to raise their expenditure in order to meet that target. It's important to them. They're holding them ransom. But if we can continue to allow this, it's our fault. We are going to have opportunity to bring about change, and I think we should do everything, and the change starts with us, and we make sure we remove this government. Guys, we move to the next topic, which is the prisons. The next topic is about the prisons. If you just bear me a minute, I'm boiling here now. Let me just try and put the heating off. I don't need the heating at this time. I'm boiling on the my jumper here. Let's come to the prison. Apparently, it came out, I believe, at Parliament, that the Interior Minister, Ablai Sanyang, said that the prison was sold and sold for $4 million. And I think subsequent question was, what's going to be done for another prison? And I think he said they have a land somewhere, or they're looking at a land somewhere around Brikama, but they don't know how much it's going to cost, or he's estimating the cost might go into hundreds of million, hundreds of million or something like that. I might touch on price. I think price is not the most important point here. I know of people are talking about legacy. People are talking about preserving the prisons and so on. But I think we are missing a point here. We are missing a very important point. When the prisons were built, they were built during the colonial period. The prisons were built for Gambians or black people living in the Gambia. The prisons were not built for the colonial or even the administration of the government. It's not, because why did I say this? The prison, if you look at the prison and look at the laws of the Gambia and look at even the act, the laws that governs the prison, it was designed for people that they look at as several people. And this is how, when independence, we took over the administration, we kept it that way. Gambians from certain background would never see themselves in prison. Even though the fact of life is, there's no human being alive that can swear to Allah that they will never go to prison. Because we have seen in our history that many righteous people would end up in prison. Going to prison doesn't mean that you have committed a crime. Doesn't mean that you are guilty of a crime. Innocents go to prison. Then you cannot swear to God that you will never go to prison. Just as you cannot swear to God that you will never be ill. As you cannot never swear to God that you will never die. Hence, these three things cannot be guaranteed. You can be president today and end up in prison. You will die, obviously, and you will be ill. Regardless, you have the best doctors, the best primary care, or whatever you have. The best food, even bread, whatever, you will be ill. Then these are very important institutions. And even losing your mind, that's sick. You cannot swear for God that you never lose your mind. People lose their mind for many reasons. It's human. Then this institution have to be protected and make sure it's fit for purpose. But when the colonials build anything or this thing is for the purpose they are this thing. If any colonial have killed a Gambian or a black person, they will not go to prison. They will be sent back to their country. If they have raped or violated or committed the worst crimes, they will have been taken back, but they will not be sent to prison. And I can tell you, still we have laws that are technically still taken from the colonial administration. And it's sad that we don't look at situation and change it, because that situation does not affect us. But even we have gone even worse. Even the situation affects us, once we get ourselves out of the situation, we don't try to change the situation. This is where in developed or progressive societies, they do better than us. In a progressive society, God forbid you end up in prison, especially for the wrong reasons, or been an accident, or you've been found guilty for something. What you do is make sure that you fight for wrongful imprisonment. People will come out and campaign fighting for wrongful imprisonment, make sure people are dealt with properly and judiciously before imprisonment. Some will even commit a crime, probably a white-collar crime, and they will go to prison. They come back and they decide that's not the place for people to be, or it has to be changed, and they'll fight for prison reforms. Some of them will give their services to rehabilitate those prisoners, to get them out there so that they will not return. Many things. Some will run charities. It has some Gambians to do it, but I'm talking about in the case of decision makers. I know of a lady that Yajam is in prison for 6 weeks in Malto, remand for doing no wrong. Up to today, she makes so a little she have. She will buy sanitary towels and things that women need, because she knew how difficult it was keeping themselves, a woman, clean and this thing in that area. Some others are doing other stuff. But when it comes to the main thing, to reform, change, to avoid this, we don't do that. Even though we spend time in there, we know how it is. And when we go there, we face it, because we never thought we will. I'll tell you one reform that happened because of it affected some people. There was this thing that prisoners were taken out. This was in Jawata First Republic, to clean the streets of Banjul, gutters and something like that. Some particular kind of people from certain background had to do that. That forced a prison reform, and that's been stopped. You see, selective. You know this death penalty, you're talking about that when the Jawara government took it out. Because one of the senior members of the PPP, the son have killed someone. Now they have to manage that case. Yeah? What they did was, the person killed after was killed our doorsteps. Christmas Eve. Coming back from Christmas this thing in the morning and just saw blood. And we know that's what happened in Bakau. Now, what did they do? In order to get this so-called big man's or son out of prison, they first had to make sure that crime he committed have been reduced in the penal code, whatever they call it, by taking out the death penalty. Now, the second thing they did was they deliberately failed to produce this gentleman to the courts for a long period, charge or whatever it is. They deliberately defaulted, so that when it went there, when it went to the court, the defense made a case that he was being wrongfully processed or whatever it is. That gentleman was released midday. By 4 o'clock, already they had a ticket ready for that gentleman to fly out of the country. You see, a death penalty was removed for that reason, not for any other reason. That's why I said when we talk about stuff, we are talking about experience. There's no point calling the people's name, but people that know would know who we're referring to. Now, for the Gambia now, we're talking about prison, price of prison, prison going there, and people said, oh, the mile 2 should not be sold to ports, should be changed to a museum or whatever. This is where the debate starts. Amen. That's what I shall say. I might be wrong that other people are holding debates, other places I've not seen. But let's look at it. What assessment have been done? Until we have a criminal justice reform, which will include obviously a prisons reform, will include sentencing guidelines and everything to be updated. We are not solving the problems of prisons. If we fall victim of these so-called progressive countries, where they have come to realization, but because of the corruption in these countries, especially in America and here United Kingdom, I'm not talking about Scandinavia, I'm talking about these progressive backward countries like England, and if it comes to criminal justice systems. Let me give you an example. It's cheaper to send a child, someone to the highest paying schools in the UK than send them to prison. It costs more to keep them in prison because of the multinational companies now own prisons. Because of this, governments have failed. They have been using prisons as form of punishment. So much, they never reformed the criminal justice system, and they could not catch up. Now, what they have to do, the prohibitions, political, they started to what they call as taking it off the books. They will try and get a prisons to run, a company to run prisons for 5 years, and contract to be renewed. And within that time, they can manipulate and the public will not see the cost of prisons. And those people being sent to those private prisons or private whatever detention centers, costing millions and millions, does not stop them from coming back committing crime. They come back and be repeating committing crime. The time they have to realize that they started to think out of the politics, now started to look at the practicalities, it's very difficult for them to catch up. It's costing a lot to manage the prison system. It's not sustainable. America is worse. Because America directly, we see the people providing prisons and prison services, paying judges to send children into prisons. You see, when we talk about criminal justice system, these are the things we're talking about. The cost to the public, public safety, public guarantees. We see these multinational companies paying campaign money for certain presidents to win elections to give them more contract, to create laws that will enable many people to be arrested. Why do you think ICE is arresting as much as possible? To the extent of arresting American citizens. Because the more they arrest, the more bonuses they have, their company shares goes up and everything. The minute Donald Trump was elected, shares went up. This is why in Gambia, when we discuss about the prison sales, shouldn't center on the money, shouldn't center on the legacy of Mile 2. That is important. I'm not saying it's not. But the most important thing is, why do we need prisons? What sort of prisons do we need? How many prisons do we need? What type of, these are the things we talk about. That's why if the discussion was about what assessments have been done, to understand the type of crimes that are committed now and likely to be committed in the future, we have to be forward-looking. The comprehensive program approach should be forward-looking. From now to 2030, 2050, what sort of prisons we would envisage to have depends on the type of criminals we will have. Yes, we can calculate to tell what sort of criminal. Because the more you have technology, you expect to have online fraud and others to follow. And just as when we go to the next topic, where you have many bureaus, Forex bureaus, you'll have many attacks. You have more people carrying sophisticated phones. You have more robbery. When people don't have phones or don't have expensive work, nobody robs them. Then, if people are to progress to acquire all this, the criminal justice system need to be managed. We don't just expect to send people in prisons. Now, the type of crimes, we can look at the crimes committed by citizens or people living in the Gambia called homegrown crimes. Do we understand now? Probably, do they have the statistics? I don't know. People are flying from Nigeria, because now you can fly from Nigeria 24 hours, or I actually have seen Taf did a 24 hours trip to Nigeria and back, Sky Air. You can do it within 24 hours. People are committing crime in Ghana now and returning to Nigeria. People are committing crime now and returning Sierra Leone. People are Senegal, don't talk about it. It's just cross and commit crime and go. Now, if we study this, this will tell us a lot about the kind of sentences guidelines we need to deal with this. How we prevent that. We cannot prevent it by fencing the country. We cannot, part of it would be to monitor the airports and these things, but that's not enough. We can do other things which are more cost effective by drawing out laws that will stop them. There are crimes that will be committed by adults. Adults crime. There are crimes that will be committed by youths. There are crimes that will be committed by children. People will be children will be committing crimes. There are crimes that will be committed by women and male genders. We have only 2 genders in the Gambia. There will be crime committed by them. Now, if we don't study to understand this crime and how likely this crime would be apparent, how can we deal with this? Because this category of crimes should determine the kind of prisons we have. This category of crimes should determine the kind of laws we have. This category of crimes should determine what sentences guidelines we need to enable to stop crime, to reduce crime, to manage crime, to rehabilitate. The future of size of prisons have to be determined with this. There are people that would be termed as security prisoners, those who have committed crimes against the state. They are more kind of considered as very dangerous that need to be protected, secured. There are people who are committing capital crimes. They need to be secured, probably locked up forever. There are others that have committed crime because of their mental health. We need facilities that some of these people can never be released. Because the only time someone should be released will be when we have guaranteed that they will not cause that similar crime. Capital crimes. That will give us to put in laws, in fact, very extreme laws to the extent of pedophiles. If we agree, that can be castrated. I don't know who disagree. That pedophiles will be castrated. We now see 3 months year old, 6 months year old, incest. At times, some harsher sentences or having it in your statute books would prevent people committing it. Yes, as a deterrent. Corruption. How do we punish them? Sentences guidelines. Drug dealers. How do we punish them? Sentences guidelines. We will not have the case of someone importing 2 tons of cocaine and still keep all their assets and not go to prison and just pay a fraction of a fine. You think if a drug dealer knows that in this country, if I commit a crime, there's a mandatory of this amount, I'll be 20 years, no negotiations. Not first time, no nothing. To say that if I am arrested on suspicion of this, is one thing taking me to court for that crime, but there's another law I have to face that I have to prove the proceeds under my control. That all your assets will be confiscated and those assets will be liquidated, and that money is going to go straight into dealing with the trouble you cause that country, the criminal justice system. You think then these Pablos, these Banters and all these people will roaming our streets? The Sericans and others will be into multiple business and still doing drugs when they already have means to be in a good but they are greed. They are even involved in drug trafficking and money laundering. If anybody caught in money laundering, be from corruption or drug trafficking, with your business, and you'll be barred from running any company again. You think they will not be more serious? Who are we making our laws for? Is it not to protect us? Why should we be lenient when we have some of these laws, I can tell you it will prevent not that drug traffickers coming to the country, but we know that because of the amount of drugs coming to the country now, most of the prisons are full with victims of these drug cartels. And the drug cartels are free to roam because they are political patrons. And our youths, yesterday we were discussing it, and we all agree there's nothing like this typical background anymore. It can come from any home in the Gambia, any home, regardless of your religious background, regardless of your status of society, or who your father was, or who your mother is, or everything. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that. We are all getting victims. Our families are victims. That's what drugs does to you. That's what drugs do to society. And in fact, probably the people killed in Forex Bureaus are drug addicts. We never know until we investigate. Then to look at it is, the criminal justice system would have a central body that is about probation. Yes, you might hear me talking about all these harsh laws. Why would I turn around to talk about probation? Because that's when you understand the assessments, that some people have to go through probation for rehabilitation. Our main objective is about rehabilitation, because if we look at the numbers of crime, the larger part of it are rehabilitatable, and it's to our benefit. Cost finances, cost to economy, cost to society. It's more beneficial to make sure that the child that will go to prison is rehabilitated and come back productive in society, because every child have a potential, every youth have a potential. And it's our responsibility as leaders to identify these potentials in a controlled environment, because of they have committed crime, put them in a controlled environment and enable them to come out better. Not to send them to continue in that wave of crime, to be hardened criminals. That should not be the objective, and that's what we have now. And without, we can build another new prison, but did not change anything. It might even get worse, because we don't even have projections of how many spaces we will need. What we are not separating the different type of criminals. Right now, you go to the remand wing in Mantu, which is a disgrace to the Chief of Justice, disgrace to the government of the Gambia. Chief of Justice, he had sent teams to visit and came out with a report. Nothing been done. The Chief Justice should have had an emergency intervention, put judges to look at all the cases in the mind. Some are spending year, 2 years, 3 years, young people, for crimes they are alleged to have committed. If they had been sentenced, probably they will not spend a year or two. Why are they spending more than the time would be required if they were sentenced? Justice delay is justice denied. And the worst is, all these young people are being put in prisons where, in remand for that matter, not committed crime, and proven that they have committed crime. They are not guilty of the crime yet. They should be presumed innocent until proven guilty, and within that time, they should be treated that way. But no, most of these people should be safe to put them on bail. But they don't put them on bail, because one thing they have in common, they come from underprivileged backgrounds. But tell me one drug dealer, big drug dealer, I'm not talking about those selling in the streets, big drug dealer that is in prison. Not Pablo and his people. They've been given bail. The young Fofana guy who was linked to Lamin Sedikan and the 2 tons of cocaine in around Burford is released. Yeah, this reason I don't have a problem with that. I know the Fofana guy was not in charge, but the one in charge have never even stepped to the police station. We have had the testimony of Usainu Boyan's sister, said that even in the police station he was put with men. How disrespectful! How an abuse of someone's right! Why do you need to put a woman with men in a prison? in a democracy. If they have to sit out, let them sit out, rather than to, infringe their rights. If you don't have a cell to put her, leave her on bail. She is running nowhere. This is why we need to have this comprehensive. Now, let's come to it. As I said, foreign criminals. Now, they are coming and going. How many of them? And everything we study, and we have a sentence guideline that this category of crimes, or people, this thing will be punished this way. They will think again, knowing that if I'm arrested in the Gambia while committing armed robbery, or committing this crime, or that crime, or that crime, I'm going to have a long sentence. Not 2 years sentence, and so-called deported. Where? 6-month sentence, deported where? Just to cross the border, or hand them over. They turn around with another paper. You have no way of monitoring them. What is most important is about the amount of youths in our Mile 2 and other prisons. I think what we need is a rehabilitation center, not a prison, for most of these young people committing these crimes, where they will be assessed and processed. Most of these young people are victims. I am not excusing them, but once you become a parent, you will understand what it takes to bring up children. There's so much that you want, love to see and do and try everything else, but it takes one interaction outside your compound or one interaction online, and you will not recognize your child. You will not recognize your child. It's the environment. We were lucky growing up. It takes time to get to a lot of things to commit them. Now, I can give you an example. Growing up, we were committing crimes. The crimes were not recorded as crimes. We were just seen as growing up. Weekends or holidays. Part of our adventure was to target compounds that have fruits in them, because we seen it as adventure. I can tell you, my old parents had compounds with fruits, but it's not appealing to go there because it's not stealing. It's a matter of going and it's not that we are hungry. It's not that we don't have oranges. It's not that we don't have mangoes. It's not that we don't have pears. It's not. That's not it. It's an adventure. Going all the way to Fajara, because Fajara was mainly big compounds with all different fruits. Sometimes there are fruits we don't have, but again, it's not that the fruit is appealing. I remember what they call Roman. What they call Roman again? They call it Roman in Gambia. Pomegranate. Still, I cannot understand people because the hassle to them and technically get. But I can tell you, pomegranate was kind of appealing because it was a common fruit in Gambia and others. We used to go to Fajara to maneuver, knowing the white men. There's a network of white men and everything else we know. We'll go there. We know how to hide, jump into fences. You see, it was our time, our childhood. They started putting bottles on fences. It's not for burglars. Burglars were not many in Gambia. It was for children going around robbing stuff in those places. Mainly fruits. But I can tell you, to tell you why it was a crime, it was theft. But do you know that some of those youths graduated after not only stealing that, they're going to steal poultry. Some people started steal something else. But it was seen as an adventure, as a start. Now, if a child starts to go online, because of now the knowledge they have, start to steal stuff online, hacking or whatever you do it, tricking people or whatever it is, if he is arrested, it's not seen as adventure. It's not seen as adventure. And now they can get into a lot of things, be it pornography, be it other things that change the chemicals of their brain to become psychopaths and other stuff. There's a lot of stuff that we were protected from. When we were growing up, I don't say a book, you hardly even see a book of what do you call dirty cards. You see a poster. One postcard. You know, they used to have this postcard with women with bikini. Any boy that had that would be treasured, because your friends will come and be borrowing it. But you'll be even ashamed for a girl to know that you're keeping it. That's how morals were, or the system were. But now you have everything in their palm. There's so much to consider. The laws are outdated. Prisons is outdated. The systems are outdated. I am talking about those that can be rehabilitated or should be rehabilitated. Some are beyond rehabilitation. They should be locked up forever. You know who they are. And those committing crimes that leading others to commit crimes should be locked up far longer. These politicians and technocrats and others that are committing the corruption. Because all these things is enabling the other crimes. For police officers and other agencies that are supposed to do their job and be part of it. Most brothels, I can tell you in the Gambia, are run by law enforcement officers, or they are protected by law enforcement officers. And those brothels are doing everything, drugs and everything in there, stolen property and everything, criminality. Go and find out. Most of those unfinished buildings that are rented or been given out to be taken care of are being converted to house people. People from Sierra Leone, from Nigeria, from Guinea, from everywhere, piling the trade. But it's not about the prosecution we're talking about here, which is an issue, a crime, but what comes with it. The same venues or places are catering for this crime to be committed. And you want to tell me, you never hear, even though at times you see it's reported in the press, Watson Gambia would report some of these things. And neighbors will be reporting these environments and this thing, nothing comes out of it. If you want to fight crime, you don't think you lock those places up? You don't think we can have legislation that gives responsibility to the property owners? That if certain behaviors, certain crimes are committed in your property, you have something to answer to. You have to make sure you do certain due diligence. You cannot rent out a property without knowing A, B, C, D of the person you rent it to, or without having evidence. Yes, in liberal democracies, they are doing it. If I have a property, even the person I'm renting it to, I have to know that they are legally staying in the country. They have to produce that. You cannot just walk in and rent a property. I need to know your income, where your income is coming from. You have to prove that. So with proof of income, I need to do a search on you to know whether you are creditworthy. All this. There's many things we could do and avoid. That will avoid prison, people going to prison. But especially the young ones that have become victims because of the collapse system we have. If we have arranged all this, work on all this, then we have a process of putting the youths through probation, through rehabilitation. Some of the youths have gone to a level. The sentencing guidelines should take into consideration. That's why before a judge or magistrate will sentence a certain, or anybody, but especially a certain age or certain person, should be very clear that you have to see a probational report that will report on that person. Look at their potential, their weaknesses and everything else. Then you decide that this Ablai Jaro, he left school at this age, or he started college from this age, this is this, and check, Because probation will check all this and ask what do you want to help with, where are your strengths, where are your weakness. And if he is addicted to drugs or something of sort, or certain behavior, probably this thing, you change the environment. Part of the prison is to make sure they change the environment enough so that rehabilitation can take place. Change of the environment means that they should be put in custodial sentence. Where? In a rehabilitation center, should not even be called a prison. Where, because of the investigation done by the probation officer, have shown that, oh, he has skills in IT. Make sure the 3 years or 2 years will be sufficient to train them, change their behavior, train them to soft skills, and they will come out and they will look another way, but not go back to life of crime. That person we invest in to go through college in this, we call it college or in prison, is far more better investment than anything else, because he'll come back productive in society and he might one day even run a company or something else, or where a sentence can be forgiven, that he might even run that country, because people will be able to change, if especially at a certain age. And part of the other reforms would be, in fact, how prisons work with charity, to encourage that. Many people are reformed in prisons because of the charity interventions in there, be religious based or other ideology based that we accept in society. Religious based on ideology based. Go and look at America, come on, in the United Kingdom, they will tell you the less reoffending are people who were reformed by ideology positioning, by Christian missionaries or Muslim disease. And I can tell you, they come out to society more disciplined and more productive, and more people are let out, help out and rehabilitate through this than any other way. Why should not we be encouraging stuff like this? This doesn't just happen. The government had to create an environment for that, where this rehabilitation center will have programs that people will be put through according to their need. There will be youths sticking to this rehabilitation. There will be carpenters, there will be masons, there will be welders, but intellectuals, for example. Let's give you an example. Many, they just give you one. They forgot it, always difficult to pronounce his name. But he was called Zebaniah, something Zebaniah. When he as a child, he went to prison in the United Kingdom. He's from a Caribbean background. In prison, he realized what talent he had was poetry. When he came out of prison, he became knighted by the royal family and represented nationally as the best poet, as one of the best poets. You go to corporate buildings, bathrooms are named after something Zebaniah. He still carry his dreadlocks from childhood. Big bulky dreadlocks. What this thing, soft spoken, brilliant. He was rehabilitated. He found himself in prison. Why would we want to spend millions and millions keeping our youths or people in prisons that they will just be spoiled and come back to be more problem to society? Is that smart? This is when we talk about prison. These are the things we should talk about. These are the most things they should present to us. And finally, we come to, after you have all this, the cost and everything else, what in terms of whatever you need to do, that, then we'll come to the cost. When we talk about cost and this government, we know they are always caving off. They will always cave off. $4 million. Now, most of us are talking about the prisons. Oh, $4 million. Do we even know how big the prisons are? Mile 2. What will be lease of Mile 2? Do we know? Before we debate the price, do we know the lease of Mile 2 from where to where? from what side of the mangroves, what side to the road. But do we realize that opposite mile 2, that big front, do we realize that big front is mile 2? Now, if you have to sell that big front alone, the big, I don't know how big it is, that is mile 2, the big front opposite mile 2. How big it is, I don't know. If you have to sell that, how much would that be? 2, some people are debating, say, oh, no, it's not bad, government is selling government. Fine. But government is selling government, but still, government selling to an arm of government that is profit-making. Ports is making profit, especially ports is being mortgaged for foreseeable future. If Borough government said, I can tell you that mortgage will be renewed. Then when we deal in business, we have to think about that we are selling government, but we are selling an arm of government that is making profit. It's not going to turn to a school, public library, public university. No. It's going to an arm of government that makes money. Then if this arm of government that needs money to transform to something else, selling to the arm of government that makes money, then we should debate the issue about how much commercially I am worth. Because it's a commercial transaction. It's not for public good alone. Ports can do a lot of other stuff. They have taken a lot of land in Banjul that they don't need, in fact, for the ports. Because again, the scam. The talk is, I can tell you this, for the talk is to build a port in Sanyang. That will be a big lottery or something else in the sea that they will take in order to build that port. If someone cannot raise few millions from their country, they have to come and look at it. A local bank tells you a lot. Now, whatever they're doing with the port, they are making money out of it. Now they are looking at real estate value for where they have reclaimed from the indigenous population of Banjul, which the change of use, if it's changed, they should have returned the land to the original owners of that land. That should be debated. They are taking everything out, changing everything, and the heritage and everything of that Banjul is lost. I'll come to the mind. What's the point of selling them that land? They have land. We give them land, just there. Why can't they use that land, but they're using it for housing, for hotels, for other things? Then it's a commercial nature. It's not about the public good. It's to make money. And again, we're very careful. We don't see the contract. What to say that even building those houses, sales of houses, what proceed? How much do we get from there? There's so lots of questions. Then let's not defend that, we're selling to government. No. What is there now, we don't even know. Because they wanted to even use our port to use it as collateral. And all these points we have raised before. That this is how this company operates. But they allow it because of the kickbacks they get from it. Now, let's come to heritage. If the decision of moving the mile 2, it's because it's not fit for purpose again anymore. Because we have found out that we are now more civilized and whatever, or people should not be put in that. That's where the white people put us, because they know there are so much people that died in that place in colonial days. They know it, because you know, mutu and every kind of thing around there, you cannot keep it clean, even how much you try. Now, if we decide Benjamin Zephaniah, thank you very much. He was called Benjamin Zephaniah. Now, if you think or believe that we need to move the prison to somewhere else, now taking consideration all the assessment, now we have to have a facility somewhere for serious crime and security prisoners. We have to have a rehabilitation center for youths, and we have to have a juvenile and women wing, and so on and so forth. How do we do this? What do they do? Imagine the amount of youths to train in agriculture in Foni, and all those kind of things. What rehabilitation? We think about all that now. Now then, we have made a case, now the prison have to move. What do you do with what's left behind? It's very important. I would never minimize, I will not call it the sentimental value, but these are values, these are our social capitals that we need to keep with us forever. But what I'm proposing here is, saying here is, it does not mean that you cannot redevelop the presence to other facilities and still keep the heritage and something that people can remember or visit in the present. If that was the case, the City of London would not have expanded, would not have generated anything. Because every corner of the City of London, if you understand that, if you look at British history, tells you technically people just living along the Thames. Along the Thames, that's all. Navigation and everything else. I can tell you how the city have expanded to Hackney, to other places, we went to British, all this extension of expansion of City of London. That's why some people will not even differentiate. London is one thing, the City of London is another thing. There's a city within London called the City of London. The City of London have their own police service, different from the Metropolitan Police that's in charge of London and outer London. Now, if you consider that, then every piece of London is a historical artifact. Be it in maritime, be it in many other stuff, be in even defending the City of London. You have walls that the Romans or the English have built to protect themselves and everything else. Roads have been dug, but what they do is they try to preserve as much as possible. You go to the city itself, you see skyscrapers, modern skyscrapers and everything. You come to an area, you see a wall left, and you look at that wall, obviously it's 300, 400, 500 years ago. You come to see a church, old as they come, still there. There's access, people can go on for their business, people can come to visit as tourists, there are many ways that when the condition of sale for mile 2 comes, those things should have been factored. Make sure, remember, mile 2 have an extension as well. There are living quarters, there are other part of mile 2, there's main mile 2 where you have the cells, the prisons, the famous wall with the tower and other stuff. Then the negotiation with what we will preserve for our heritage and whatever it is, and what can we change and how we're going to change this for commercialization. Now we have to be realistic as well. As a sovereign country, we have a small land mass, and some developments are very essential in keeping the country sovereignty. In fact, to develop and so on, we will need to have them. How do we do this? We can have the mix. I don't know exactly, but I know there are people who specialize in this, and they can come and have that mix and even make the area more attractive, more accessible, maybe commercialized, in fact, be part of a museum, be something else, and rest of it should be kept digitally. There are certain things that will never physically continue to be with us, but it will be digitally maintained. Today, most of history, even if it's physically present, people are learning more about it digitally. But from an administration that doesn't care about James Island, administration that doesn't care about Fort Blaine, from the dictator going there mining it, thinking that there's diamonds in there because a Marabu said there are diamonds in there. For now, and they said they're giving 30 talks to put a ferry landing when we already have a ferry landing. Because of the talks are working with Ahmad Sani. You see, when it comes back to Barrow and his greed. We can do that. That's why I'm saying these are the positions I think we should be thinking of what we should do with the prisons, how the prison will be done. There's so much other things involved, but the most important would be what assessment have been done, and a comprehensive approach that will make sure that career criminals, capital crime criminals, juveniles, and everything else is catered for, and we have a proper criminal justice system. We look at the sentencing guidelines and everything else, but the emphasis on the youths and many other prisoners, the larger bulk of prisoners we call would be about rehabilitation, and some of them in fact can go through probation because of the crime they may have committed, through probation without even needing to go into prisons, and they would record magnificent change in their life. Some of them need mental health, because that's why if you look at the criminal justice system, we will even look at the laws governing mental health, the facilities governing mental health. This is how a government should be thinking, but not government in a mood of selling. And they're talking about 4 million, and they didn't even know how much it costs to build another one. Why not look at cost of building another one? But that would help you to understand what value you need from the existing one. These are the things we need to check. If you give a minute, we'll move on to the final topic that we need to talk about, the Forex Bureau, and we'll try to keep it brief as possible. I'm still sweating, and the heating is off. Let's do a quick dive on the sad incident of Aissatou Fati, the young life lost working at a Forex Bureau. And this reminds us, again, we pray for her soul to rest in peace, and for the family to have patience and to grieve, and we hope that they will find closure by this criminal or criminals, whoever it is, be apprehended and be dealt with judiciously. We pray for Allah to forgive our soul and Allah to bring barakah to the entire family. And again, this reminds us of a similar case of the killing of Fatmata Kagbo. Again, in a very brutal way, and luckily in this case, the only thing is the alleged perpetrator of the crime is arrested, but still within, you see, how long it takes to put this person and still going through the criminal justice system. Now imagine that family of Fatmata Kagbo, what they're going through. Still, the closure will only start when this person is put away. And they'll start, and that's why it's very important to have a very effective criminal justice system, that justice will not be delayed, and justice would be done in time for people to able to move on, to start their grief, and we pray for them to recover and have a more settled life. It's never something that we'll forget, losing family member, especially child, a girl child for that matter. But something here, the similarity is they're all women, young women, and obviously need for a job, and went for a job that I can think this, that most Forex bureaus are employing young women. Probably they're trusting them more than young men. I might be wrong, but I'm saying perhaps the trust of young women is more than young men. It's not scientific, I have no idea, but it seems, because almost every Forex bureau I interacted, even on the phone, is likely a woman than a man. There's an attraction there, and they are all young, and these two lost their life in a very horrific way, very sad indeed. And the person who killed, in the case of Aissatou Fati, or even we don't actually know what motivated the crime. Is it to rob the place? I have not seen that evidence. That evidence have not come into the court yet, or conviction to know what evidence. What else influenced the crime? Are the people under the influence of drug? Because these are all things that are important to note, to understand why this crime wave. One thing we are not blaming the government for. is that the crimes happen. We blaming them for not doing something after it happened. The crime happened again. Technically, we can blame them to say that they could have foreseen it. Yes, if they were forward-looking. In development, where development occurs, crimes will happen. Then you should plan for those crimes that are likely to happen so that you can mitigate it and reduce that crime, prevalence of that crime happening. The example I gave is now, let's say anywhere, UK, anywhere you go, it's more likely now to rob someone than years ago, before electronics. Because now this electronics might cost £800. Now to burgle a house, you might not find value of £800, or the value of £800 in those days would be a bulky item. It's likely to be caught. But to take a risk and look for someone's weaknesses and attack them and take their phone is more attractive. Some people are wearing watches costing thousands of pounds. They are likely. I can walk in the same street, I will not be touched. Not because I'm black, no, because I don't look rich. But if you wear a watch of 40,000 in certain part of London, you get robbed. You will likely get robbed. It's gone up. And it's difficult to tackle. Now, what people are doing is not to wear expensive watch. But imagine now, you want to, that's how unsafe it is. But again, they're trying to tackle it, but it's very difficult to tackle. Because these are moving crimes. Moped, bam, go. And again, it's transnational crimes. People are coming from Bulgaria, people are coming from Romania, people are coming from Estonia and other places committing the crime and out of the country. Syndicates and everything. But the police are trying to catch up with that. We understand this challenges will happen. But when they happen, what do you put to? But in this case, it's kind of a little bit different. First, we have stakeholders who are responsible for planning. When an industry is developing, expanding, when a country is developing, expanding, whatever industry you are or business you are, sector you are, is expanding, broadening, you need to carry an assessment. And risk assessment, this is where stakeholders will sit down and look at it. Now, if people are running in the Gambia, I can tell you there's a forex, so much forex. I don't think, God, everywhere is forex. Everywhere there's a forex deal. Somehow someone is involved. Some people are, now the danger, that should need a measure to control. I'll come to the other side of the control. You know why there's no, I'll come to the point why there's no control. But in this case, the central bank as the main stakeholder owe it to, because they license the bureaus and they regulate the bureaus. They should have make sure they have very clear regulations that look at the safety and the security of the security of the premises and the safety of workers. Security of premises, safety of the workers. That there should be no license forex that did not meet these standards of security and safety for workers. There shouldn't be. That's one. If that is implemented, I am not saying a crime will not happen, but it will be very rare. There's nothing like zero crime. It will be very rare. Many lives will be safe. How? Security. If an assessment is made, the perpetrators of crime, you have to understand how they think. They would have to survey to understand how to get here and commit that crime and leave without being detected. This is their objective. Now, for the law enforcement, for the authorities, this is where the central bank work with the police and these things, on other stakeholders, on how do we prevent, making it difficult for these perpetrators to see it as a soft target to attempt. You are deterring. The best form of security is to deter. One, let's come to the physical building of it. Now, if every design is inspected before licenses are given, and to make sure they meet this standard, that the person outside we cannot be in contact with the people or have access behind the counters without over reasonable force, it would be very difficult or non-possible unless the worker allows them to come in. We'll come to that. That's safety. This is security. I'm talking security now. It's the infrastructure, how they build these places. They will know how to build it. I can tell you, we have efficient police officers. It's only the management that's wrong. I can tell you, hundreds of them. You tell them to look at something and they can advise you, they'll advise you. Especially the police force itself, the SIS and other security districts, sitting down and agreeing on what designs should be approved. A design have to be approved. Now, that's the physical bit of it. The doors to go through and the doors, these things and so on. Another part of it is what aids the security. If you have that, you need something added to it to make it more deterrent. Compulsory CCTV. And part of that is there's no excuse that my CCTV did not work. There should be a penalty. That inspections would be done, and any time that a premises is found lacking in this, a punishment. Charge them. Just put it there that they will charge. They will make sure their CCTV works. There's no compromise on that. Because what CCTV does is it serves as a deterrent and again serves as an evidence. Now, if people think that if I go in here, even if I manage to bypass the security setup, I'll be captured in camera, and I might not even know, because the CCTV that you have to put in, I might not even get it's digital now. I might not even get access. Now, if I get away, I'll be caught, because people will not be walking with masks. These things. That's where you capture them before they get to the premises. Now, even if they get close to the premise, bring down the mask, you still have them, and they will think about these things. They see the level, all that level is deterring of getting in. Now, there are other aids. There are alarms that can be put in there. It's not that the alarm is, because we don't have a system that alarms are wired at the police, but alarms can be put in there, and with agreement, I'll come to that, of the network, what we call a security network. You press the alarm, the next shop will obviously know this alarm means one thing, that someone is in danger, because you want them to come with urgency and knowing that you are in danger. Now, certain alarms being put in the shops are normally connected or around the same area, or the public would be alert that the minute you see something that you're seeing, press the alarm. Regardless of whether it's false or not, it's not matter. What matters here that you are safe. And that alarm goes off, boom, boom, boom. That perpetrator might walk back, knowing that you have alerted the rest of the public, because perpetrator is coming in to avoid being noticed. And if he is going to be noticed, he will run back. That's another mechanism put in place. And that can be part of the security, but can be termed safety. But the most important part of safety is every teller, everybody that works in the Forex should be certified that they are trained on security awareness. Every teller. Anybody that walks behind the counter should be security aware. And the security aware would be making sure they know what to look for and how to react when it happens. How to discreetly get to the alarm, that's one, but how to identify someone, probably the clothing during this weather, whether he's got a hood, whatever it is, And if there's measures to say that nobody wears the hood past this point. If they pass that point of the hood, obviously you have reason to react. No helmets, I mean those kind of things to cover themselves. They know these things to look at and how they should react. And they are taught about the protocols to avoid. They are updated with, if something happens, they are updated with information. Oh, be careful now. If someone asks for this or did this way, don't move, or make sure all the time your door is closed, regardless of who is on the other side. If you think that they are authorized to come in, make sure the door is closed behind them. There's something called tailgating. If the perpetrator of crime observe along, now if they see that the door is slack, that if someone walks in, it takes 3 minutes or some time before that door shut, they might stand at the position of timing. The person walks and they just push the person and they get access. You know, these are things that can be trained to all tell us to be security aware, which is very important. There are some more that the person to prepare the training manual would understand all these things. But finally, there's another thing where would be under the Gambia Chamber of Commerce or traders, whatever it is. There should be always an agreement here. Now, if you have 4 subs, 5 subs, 6 subs on a row, 6 subs on a row, how much would it cost for them to hire a security? We don't have enough police to be everywhere. One, they should work as a neighborhood team. All the 6 subs can work together to understand how they prevent crimes to happen in their area. Not only on them, even their customers. Because if the customers know that they are safe coming to pick up money here, they would be wanting to come in there to pick up money or buy stuff. Not everybody is giving out money, but some people take the money here and want to go to the next shop and buy the stuff they want to buy. Now, all the shops to agree on building a protocol. How do we keep ourselves safe? How do we keep our area secure? Part of the area secure is all of them having a uniform way of protecting their shops. And obviously for the Forex Bureau have to go with a standard by the central bank and the Interior Ministry. But for them, they can adopt that. Even other shops can adopt some of these things to keep the area secure. Because if I am not easily penetrated, the next one will be penetrated. That's why if you have a neighbor who protect their compound so much, they are saying that you can go to the next. I don't care. That's why it's good when you are in a neighborhood, you have a neighborhood kind of watch, that everybody is protected and everybody is secure. Now, if they have a neighborhood, what they can do is probably put money to pay security companies monthly. You have 1 person or 2 people, depending how big the shopping area is, that will be patrolling, not sit down smoking this thing. You make sure you have a contract that these are the things we want for the security guy to do. If not, you report to these things, and the security company knowing that if you report 3 times in 3 months, then you are within your rights. They call it the KPIs. Within your rights to tear up the contract, give it to another security company. But then that security company will make sure their staff do the right thing, because they want to secure their contract. That's how you sign contracts. Have a KPI for the security companies, and they will make sure they're on top of stuff. Now, you have 1 security O2 that patrols the area all the time. They are visible in uniform and everything, and obviously they have. They shouldn't be armed. They don't need to be armed, but they know what to do if it happens. They have a contingency plan. How to alert the police, how to stop this, how to do that, how to do that. I can tell you, if you have that network there, it hardly crime would happen there. Or if it happened, it will be under control. Especially with the alarm system that we press it, everybody will congregate to the shop. And the criminals knows that they will be this thing. And if you have a security there, and one of their responsibility is to look out people that they know they are delinquents or whatever it is, to get them out of the environment. And people don't like to be pushed away. They push them away, they will just walk away to another area. That area will be secure. There are so much things that we can do. But my belief, why it's not happening? You see, when we talk about the cartel, people just rush to think about drug dealers. No, there are cartels in the economy. And the biggest cartel in the economy is the Forex. That's why I laugh when I hear some people that doesn't understand Forex blaming the fuller merchants. Now you have few more people coming into it, hawking around. Those people are connected, part of a system. I dealt with Forex 6 months to 1 year. I just stopped because I don't want to get involved in that. I can tell you there's so much dirty games in Forex. I'm not saying that some people, but I can tell you it's hard to make money in Forex without playing these dirty games. That's why it should be regulated, but nobody will regulate it. Do you know that from Barrow to almost all the big thieves depends on this Forex? Because some of the money that comes to them, they come in dollars. Not every company gives them dollars. They need the dollars to take it out. A guy called Ibrahim Jabi does Forex for the First Lady. Go and find out how many millions they get from the Forex. Central bank cannot give you much. But central bank is the head of the Forex mafia. Most of Forex running around, they are licensed. They are using, one license is used by God knows how many people. They are renting out license. There are no regulations. Then don't blame my fuller people for what is happening. They are very integral, but they are bottom of the scale. Companies monopolize commercial banks. Give you an example. You used to stay home or somewhere, get a call from an insider in the commercial bank, and they'll tell you that Morusawi Gallo at Picton is looking for $20,000. But I already negotiated to this price. Let's say $20 a dollar. The money to buy that dollar is coming from the commercial bank, not mine. Go and get the money for $20,000 from the commercial bank. Get to Morusawi Gallo. Buy the dollar from Morusawi Gallo for 20%. For him, that's a good price. Probably the market advertised price is $19. $19. Let's say $20 is, he should be selling it for $19.30. But now already the cartel is moving it up. Now I go to buy the dollar from Morusalu for $20. When central bank or the market price is $19.30, $19.40. Morusalu is happy. Now he's getting $20. Now I am getting the $20,000 for money that's not mine. What do I have to lose? Get the $20,000, get to the commercial bank. There's a company out there ready to pay $21. That's $1 for every dollar. I have $20,000. $1 it's not mine. I've not won. All I did is to move it. Now, today, these are the things happening. These are the things happening. from the central bank. It's there. Commercial bank there. Forex there. Forex bureaus there. Even the Forex bureaus have rely on people hawking in the streets. There are, bureaus hawking, people hawking in the streets. They are connected to the chain. That's why the dollars go, the foreign currencies goes up. Forex bureaus everywhere. There are many ways. People money laundering. Money launderers. There's another aspect of shipment. What do you call shipment by the central bank? If you know the corruption in shipment of currency out, go and find out how much currency, foreign currency is shipped out of the country. Go and find out. This is the problem in the Gambia. Until we have a government that is fit for purpose, crime will continue. Crime will continue. I forgot the name of the businessman, a Lebanese guy, with the Abdullah Sinai, the IGP. Do you know how much those people get out of the country? Money laundering. Do you know how the Russians were getting their money to, exchanging the dollars they're selling the petrol for dollars? Involving Ibrahim Ajado, who's connected to the First Lady? Why do you think there's Forex bureaus everywhere? Do you know how many agencies are running and not running Forex bureaus? People that you transfer money to in their accounts in Europe and America, and you get money paid, and these are civil servants. Civil servants looting money. People from different departments. This is why we are not safe. To fight crime, we have to fight the organized criminals, the white-collar criminals. This is the only way we can bring about change in that country. So far, everything we talk of here is coming from the executive level. Executive level. In organized countries, the market is liberalized to the extent that you know you go to the bank, that's what you have. You go to the bank, it's there, it's available. In Gambia, no. Just as the lies that Boasedi told you guys, or the guy that was caught with that money, got the money from people sending his father from the people send money to the Gambia through Forex, they don't get paid dollars. That's what I lie. And people never had follow-up questions. The guy was lying. He was carrying money to Senegal. Going to his father's Gamo was an excuse. Because going to the Gamo, that's the couriers are coming to the Gamo to collect the money to take it to Senegal. We know how it goes to Senegal. The couriers to Turkey, they have couriers to Turkey, they have couriers to Senegal, they have couriers to China. Their boyfriends and girlfriends, not only girlfriends doing that, boyfriends. Giving money to their boyfriends. Traveling to Turkey for business. It's a way of depositing money. To China. To Dubai and other places. Until we change a government for purpose of change, make sure we have the change necessary, we hold them accountable, this government would not. Because all part of the change, they are part of it. I tell you, just go. If any of these businesses or these people, when they're in grief, they fight among themselves. When something happens, if you talk to them, they criticize the government. Or they even come and give you information about the government. But when it comes to the government to fall, they don't want the government to fall. They just want to use you to fight one of them. They try to do it all the time. But we know how to use information. We don't do it as what they want. We take our time and get to the bottom of it. That's why some of them will run away. Because they can't use us. You just don't come and accuse the finance minister, and we take that and run with it. We want to know what's behind the scene. Or you come and accuse an MD or somebody else. We take our time and see what we need from it and put it out there. They're fighting among themselves, but they are cartels. When it comes to elections, they'll do anything. They pay influencers, they pay anything, and to misinformation, to everything else. This is why you see some people sift election year. They sift. And you see some of them popping their head on social media around election time, because they are positioning themselves for one of these leaders. Don't think that is most of them, it's not Barrow that pay them or NPP that pay them. No, the cartel pays them, because they are in fear, knowing that if the government change, they might not, or they will lose their influence and they will lose their business. What they do, because they're not doing it right. Then it is to our interest to understand this. The divisive politics, most of these things, they are doing it, perpetrating it to protect themselves, whilst our people are not safe, while the country is not secure, while the government is overspending because of the looting and everything. They are selling anything, everything, just for what they can get from there. They are not planning for a future. This is why, again, our credible, the few percentage of credible people who are in the media should be very careful. Let them not allow them for that perception. Thank you very much, guys. It's been almost 3 hours. I just need to capture all this, and I wish everyone who celebrates Christmas Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year coming. And we again pray for Lawyer Usman Silla, and we pray for Aissatou Fati and Fatmata Kagbo and all those people that left us, and we try and make sure that their memories are with us, and make sure we their justice is served on their behalf. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Thank you.